We begin the Gemara today at the bottom of Samachala from Amud Beis, the last line where it says Hatalmidim Yotzin L'Talmud V'Chulu. So this is the Mishnah where it said that when you have Talmidei Chachamim that go to learn Torah, so they can go and learn for 30 days without getting permission from their wife.
Sounds fun.
30 days.
Let's go.
So the question is, Birishus Kama. But if they want to get permission from their wife, so then how long could they leave for? So the Gemara answers, Kama Dabai. If you're getting permission, go as long as you wish. This is actually something the Mefarshim ask on this. I mean, what is the Gemara even asking and answering? Obviously, if you're getting permission, go as long as you want. So some read the Gemara sort of b'derech teima. B'rishus kama, you're asking how much? Kama Dabai. Obviously, you go as long as your wife gives you permission. But then the Gemara adds to this and says, but orche de milsa kama. What's a good custom? What's ordinary? For how long should you leave? Meaning, even if your wife gives you permission, Rashi says you could convince your wife, you'll persuade her, let me go for 2 years, 3 years. But the question is, how long is too long? How long do you know that your wife really is not happy about you leaving? So Amarav Chaydish. Rav says a month at a time. Chaydish Kav, Chaydish Bebayis. 1 month you go to yeshiva to learn, and then 1 month you come home, and then 1 month you go to yeshiva, and so on. That's the length of time. And it brings a makkah for this from what it says, Shenemar, when it came to serving the king, Shleima Melech, so it says, there were different people that were in different departments serving the king. Haba v'ayetzis, the ones that came and the ones that left, they had the shifts of people working, chaydish b'chaydish, month by month. L'chol chatshi hashana, for all the months of the year. Rashi explains the drasha of this pasuk. In the simple pshat of the pasuk, it actually seems that everybody just got 1 month out of the year that they had to work in their shift for the king, and the rest of the 11 months they were able to be home. But in the drasha, the way Rav is learning it over here, because it says in the pasuk these extra words, haba v'hayetzis, they came and they went. That means besides those that only worked only 1 month out of the year, there were also others that would work a month, go home a month, work a month and go home a month. That's what the pasuk says, haba v'hayetzis. They're coming and they're going. Okay, just before I go weiter, very geschmack at Tosfos here. Tosfos says the famous story of Rabbi Akiva, which we're going to learn tomorrow in the Hemshech of the Gemara. It says Rabbi Akiva left his wife for many years, 12 years, then he came home and he left for another 12 years. So we see much longer than what it says over here, 1 month at a time. So how would Rabbi Akiva do something if the Gemara says it's beyond what a wife could handle? Says the Tosfos, if it's a situation where the husband has to convince his wife that he wants to go to learn Torah, then we have this amount of a month at a time according to Rav. But by Rabbi Akiva, it wasn't him, Rabbi Akiva, that was asking his wife, can I leave? She married him for this purpose. She's the one that was encouraging him. She said, go. She was happy to have him go learn Torah, and therefore over there he can go for a much longer period of time. Rabbi Yochanan has a different share. Person that's going to learn Torah, the amount of time, if he has to convince his wife, is he stays a month home, or a month in yeshiva, that is, to learn Torah, and then he should be 2 months at home. He brings a makir, Shanema, this is a pasuk where it speaks about building the Beis HaMikdash. Shleima Melech sent the Yidden workers to go build the Beis HaMikdash. So chaydish yeh b'Levanayin. For 1 month they should go there to Lebanon. They had to deliver the materials, had to bring the wood from Lebanon for the Beis HaMikdash. And Shnaim Chadashim beBeisai. And 2 months in the house. There were 30,000 Yidden that were working. So they would send 10,000 at a time, and then 10,000 would go and work for a month, and then 2 months they would come home, and this was the Seder. So if we see the same replies to learning Torah. V'Rav, so the Gemara now asks, V'Rav nami my time eloi oma mahi. Why didn't Rav learn out from the pasuk that Rabbi Yochanan learns out when they built the Beis HaMikdash that you have to be home for 2 months? And it says the Gemara, Shani binyan Beis HaMikdash to efsher al yedei acherim. By building the Beis HaMikdash, since there were so many people, there are others that were doing the work, so therefore over there you could be home for 2 months because there were 30,000 Yidden that were involved in this work. When it comes to learning Torah, you're learning Torah, nobody else could do for you. So maybe over here we learn out from the pasuk that Rav brings that you can go away for a month at a time and you don't have to be home for more than a month. And why didn't Rabbi Yochanan learn out from the pasuk that Rav quoted by working for Shlomo Melech a month and a month? And says the Gemara, Shani Hasam, because Rabbi Yochanan says you can't learn from there. That's a different story. The Islay Harvacha. Person that leaves home and he's working for Shlomo Melech, he gets paid well. He comes home with new nice jewelry for his wife. So she's happy. She says, okay, my husband leaves in a month at a time, but at least I get something from this. But over here, when he goes to learn Torah, it's his mitzvah. True, a wife also has a mitzvah to encourage her husband to learn Torah, but it's primarily his mitzvah. So over here, it doesn't necessarily apply what it says, but over there, when she leaves to the king. Okay, the Gemara now brings another inyan, which is not really related, but it's another machlokes between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, how to explain a certain pasuk. Amar Rav says, Anocha sheveres chatzi gufi shalad. A person that groans, it breaks half of the body of the person. Shanema, as the pasuk says, V'ata ben adam heyonach, person is groaning, b'shivrei masnaim, it breaks your loins, ub'miriris, and with bitterness teyonach, you're groaning and moaning. So the loins, which in the center of the body of the person, it shows you that it breaks half of the body of the person. Rabbi Yochanan brings a different pasuk. Af kol gufi shalada, a person that groans, it breaks down his entire body. Shenem, as the pasuk says, if they come and tell you, why are you groaning? V'amarta, you'll say, al shmua kiba, this news that came, this bad news, v'nomes kol lev, and your heart melts away, v'rafa kol yadayim, and your hands are weak, v'kasa kol ruach, and your whole spirit becomes weak. So v'chol b'chayim telach namayim, and even your knees become bending below you like water that flows. So you see in this pasuk, it refers to the entire body, that a person that's suffering and is groaning, it breaks the entire body of a person. This is a pasuk that is actually speaking about the Churban Beis HaMikdash. So the Gemara asks, Rabbi Yochanan nami yaksiv b'shivrei masnayim. According to Rabbi Yochanan, doesn't it say in the pasuk that groaning only breaks your loins, half of the body? So the answer is, when a person is suffering and is groaning, it starts breaking half of your body. It begins with the loins, but eventually it will break the whole body. Rav nami, Rav as well. Haksiv and Namas Kodev and Rafa Koyedev and Kasa Kol Ruach, and the other pasuk that Rabbi Yochanan quoted, we see that it affects the whole body of the person. And says the pasuk, Shani Shmua de Beis HaMikdash. That pasuk is talking about the bad news of the Churban of the Beis HaMikdash, the Tkifet Tuva. That's the suffering of the Yidden, which is unusual. There it breaks their entire body. But not usually. Usually a person suffers and he groans, it breaks only half of his body. Gemara brings an incident about this. Ahu Yisrael Vayvekechavim. There was Yidden, a guy, the Havaka Ozle B'orche B'hadi Adadi. They're traveling together on the road. So this guy traveling with the Yid could not catch up. He wasn't able to keep up with this Yid that was traveling so quickly. So the guy wanted to slow down this Yid so he could walk with him. So she reminded him about the fact that the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, so that it should break the heart of the Yid and it should slow him down. So what happened? Nogid v'iznach, it broke the Yid and he did groan. But he still, this guy still could not catch up to the Yid who's traveling so fast. So the guy says to him, didn't you once say that if a person is groaning about something they're suffering from, that it breaks half of the body of the person, and I see you're running, you're going so quickly, and it's not slowing you down? The Yid answered, when is this true? When it's something which has just happened, something that you're suffering of now. The shnanba, something that a person is already accustomed to, something that happened a while ago, that's something that does not break the body of a person. People say the following saying, the malfa tichli, unfortunately a woman that is accustomed to miscarry and her children die, loy basa. She doesn't get excited when it happens, it doesn't move her, she doesn't suffer from it as much. So this is unfortunately the situation with the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Right? If there's a famous sikha where the Rebbe said that the Churban Beis HaMikdash, Chazal tell us that Komishin loy nivne b'yamav, kilu nechrav b'yamav. So if a person knows that it's really something which is happening presently, so then it is something that should move us to our core, like something that just happened. Going back to the Mishnah, it said, Atayolin b'chol yoyim. Mishnah spoke about the obligation of a husband to be with his wife, the marital relations, and it brought different kinds of shiyurim for people that have a different occupation. So the tayolin, people that are tayolin, which the Gemara will explain now, for them the obligation is daily. My tayolin. So what are these tayolin? Omar Rava says, Rava b'nei pirki, those that learn Torah, students that are learning Torah by a teacher in their city, and they come home every evening, so they're available. They're there in the city. They're home with their wife. Amalei Abaye, so Abaye disagrees. Abaye says, Man d'chsivbuhu, you're talking about these people that are learning Torah every day. So it says about them, Shav lechem mashkim ekom achrei sheves oichle lechem matzavim. It's silly, it's foolishness. All those that get up early in the morning and go to sleep late at night, they work so hard for a living and they eat bread which they're depressed about because they work so hard. But kein yiten li didai sheina. But the Eibishter gives to the ones that he loved, the Didai Sheina. What does this mean, the Didai Sheina? So the Gemara explains, this refers to those wives of the Talmidei Chachamim, that they are the real fortunate ones. And the word lidida over here means sheminadedois sheina me'eineim ba'olam hazeh. They do not sleep. They take sleep away from themselves here in this world. Uvois l'chai olam haba. And that's why they'll be zeichet to olam haba. What does this mean? Because their husbands stay out at night late to learn Torah, and they stay up late at night to wait up for their husbands to come home very late at night. So that's the schus that they have, waiting up for their husband late at night. And you say that these Talmidim that go to learn Torah, even if they're local, learning by their Rebbe, but nevertheless their wives have to wait very late up for them at night. So you say that their obligation of marital relations is every single night. How could this be if they're coming home so late at night? Elam Abaye. So therefore Abaye says a different pshat. Kederav, the Omar Rav. Rav explained what Hatayolan means. Kagoin Rav Shmuel Bar Shilit. An example for this is an individual by the name of Rav Shmuel Bar Shilit, which was actually a teacher of children. He used to teach children Torah. And he supported himself in the Ochel Midi day. He ate from what he worked for himself. The Shasi Midi day. And what he drinks is from what he supported himself by teaching Torah. The Gani Betula da Padne. And he lives in the shade of his own home, in the comfort of his own home. V'lecholev prisketiv malkasa the malka above. And there was never any agent from the king that came to him to say that he has to come and work for the king. He's living very calmly and peacefully for himself. Such an individual is someone that has the obligation to be with his wife every night. And so according to this, the pshat of Tayolin refers to the shade of the home. He lives in the comfort of his own home, and therefore he's always there available for his wife. Kiyasa Ravin, when Ravin came, Ravin gave a different example. Omar, he said, Kagayim mefanki de marave. Those individuals in Eretz Yisrael that sit and live life with a pleasure, they eat and drink, and they're calm and happy for themselves, so they have this obligation. Rabavo Havakoi Beibani. The Gemara here brings about what we see, the strength of those that I think it's related to those that are in Eretz Yisrael, and they're very strong. They take care of themselves. So Rabavo was once in a bathhouse. He had two servants that were supporting him, helping him. All of a sudden, what happens? The floor of the bathhouse collapsed beneath them, and they fell down over there into the basement. Isramile Amuda, he found, they are down in the basement, he found some kind of a pole that he was able to go up. He's pulled himself up on this pole, Salik, he pulled himself up, Vaskino, and he even dragged along with him his two servants that were supporting him. He was able to drag them up along with him. So that shows how strong he was. He was taking care of himself, and he was so strong that he was able to bring them up along with him. Rav Yechanan, another incident similar, Rav Yechanan was once have a kasalik b'darga. He was going upstairs. Have a samchile Ravami v'Ravasi. Ravami and Ravasi were supporting him. If chesed darga to say, so one of the steps, it collapsed beneath him, and Salik, he fell down beneath the stairs. Vasikino, and he not only did he, so again, Salik, he himself went up, he somehow pulled himself back up, and he brought those two, Rabami and Ravasi, that were supporting him, he pulled them up. So Amri Le Rabbanon, so the Shiva student said to him, if you're able to pull them up together with you when the step collapsed, so why, when you always walk around, do you have them along with you to support you? Amalahu, so Rabbi Yechanan answered, what power am I going to have in my old age if I'm always going to work so hard, so I'm not going to preserve any of my energy for my old age? Very interesting Gemara, because you would think the more a person exercises, the more a person works hard himself, the more energy he'll have in his old age, right? That's what we know today. But apparently, if you exhaust yourself to a certain degree that's beyond what you should be exercising, it's not good for you in your old age.
What does this have to do with the Talmid Chacham that stays at home, has to have relations with the wife every day? And also having relations, it's going to cause his situation to be worse. His eyes go bad, this goes bad.
Okay, that's a different sugya, different Gemara, correct?
Okay.
Zakta Gemara va'apayalim shtayim b'Shabbos. Those that work, it said in the Mishnah, so how often do they have to be with their wife? Twice a week. Frekta Gemara va'tanya, but it says in a different Braise, hapayalim achas b'Shabbos. The workers only once a week. Why does it say twice? There's no contradiction here. It depends what the work is. If they work locally in the city, so then they have to be with their wife twice a week. But if they're working in a different city, so then they're not available all the time as often. We learned this in a Braisa. The workers have to be with their wife twice a week. If they're doing their work locally, but if they're doing their work out in another city, achas b'Shabbos, once a week is enough. The next thing it said in the Mishnah, Chamarim, those people that are camel drivers and they travel out further away. Achas b'Shabbos, like we just said, so for them once a week is enough because they're traveling out of the city. Amalei Rabbi Barav Chanan LaAbaye. Rabbi Barav Chanan now asks based on this on Abaye. So let me just go back a second to the Mishnah. If you remember, in the Mishnah, in the beginning part of the Mishnah, there was machlokes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel regarding a person. Oh, it's right over here before in the Samach Aleph, where a person made a neder. Person says, I'm making a neder. I'm not going to be with you either for 1 week or 2 weeks. So according to Beis Hillel, even just 1 week, his wife has to wait. More than a week, she doesn't have to wait for him. He has to divorce her right away. But now, afterwards in the Mishnah, it gives all kinds of shiurim that it depends on what your occupation is. And it says a person which is traveling out of his city for work, so then once a week is enough. And people that are even traveling further, Gamalim, camel drivers, so then once in 30 days. People that are going overseas on ships, even once in 6 months. So the question is, why would the Mishnah in the beginning bring from Beis Hillel this shear of once a week, that once a week is already too much and he has to divorce her, if we see that it depends on your occupation, it could be much longer, that a person could be away from his wife. So that's the question. Ichbel Tana Lashminon Tayel Lopayel. Does the Tana bring this whole machlokes between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, and it says that more than a week is too much, all only relating to the case of a person that's a tile, which we said before is a person that's home all the time, or a pile, a worker that's in the city, and therefore he should be able to be with his wife twice a week? Amalei, the Gemara answers, Loi, that's not the pshat on the Mishnah. Akulu, it refers to all of the cases the Mishnah says. When it says that a person that makes a neder, that he's not going to be with his wife for more than once, for a week straight, this is a problem even for those individuals that have the right not to be with their wife for 6 months. You're going to ask me, but it said a person that's going overseas only once in 6 months does he have to come home to his wife. So the Gemara explains, but it's still not the same. There's an expression that says regarding a person that's fasting, that if a person is fasting and he knows he has no bread to eat in his home if he wants to break his fast, so then the fast itself is much more difficult. But if a person is fasting and he knows he has bread to break his fast, the fast itself is easier to handle. Same with this woman. She knows her husband is out of town, but my husband never made a neder that he doesn't want to have a relation with me in any time period, even for 1 week. So therefore, it's easier for her. But the moment she knows that for 1 week my husband is disconnected from me, it makes the whole experience more difficult, and therefore he's going to have to divorce her right away. How about a person that got married to his wife, and his job was to be a chamar, a donkey driver, which doesn't go so distant. And he wants to change his job, and he wants to become a camel driver, which goes much more distant. So what's the halacha now? Does he have to get permission from his wife to change this or not? And he's leaving for longer periods of time. Amalei, so the Gemara answers, Raitzi Isha, a woman that is, would rather have kav v'tiflus, and much less of an income. So even if he's going to remain a donkey driver, he's going to have less of an income, but tiflus, that she could be together with her husband, miasara kaven uprishis, even if he's going to get more of an income by being a camel driver, 9 times as much, but nevertheless, if she's separated from her husband, she's not interested in that. So therefore, if he wants to change his career, he's going to have to get permission from his wife. Hasaponim achas shisha chadashim divri Rabbi Eliezer. So the Mishnah said those that are going on ships overseas, just once in 6 months they have to come home, and that's according to Rabbi Eliezer. And this is really, Rabbi Eliezer said everything that it said there in the Mishnah, including what it said before in the Mishnah, that Talmidei Chachamim, if they want to leave to go learn, for how long could they go learn without permission? For 30 days. So on this the Gemara brings Amar Rav Bruna said, or others say Amar Rave, or sorry, not Amar Rave, Amar Rav Masna, that is, Amar Rav Halacha Rabbi Eliezer. We paskin like this opinion of Rabbi Eliezer here. Amar Rav Barav, Amar Rav Barav said in the name of Rav, Zu Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. What we have in our Mishnah is only the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. The Chachamim disagree regarding people that want to go and learn Torah after they're married. HaTalmidim, those students, or the Talmidei Chachamim, Yotzin l'Talmud Torah, Beis v'Gimel Shanim, they're allowed to go out and learn Torah for 2 or 3 years, Shaloi b'Rishus, even without their wife's permission. But on this, Omar Rave said that you shouldn't do this because he disagrees basically. He said, Samchu Rabbanon ad Rav Abba. The Talmidei Chachamim relied on what Rav Ada bar Ava said, that the Chachamim disagree and you can leave even 2 and 3 years without your wife's permission. V'avdi uvde, and what they did, benafshayu, it affected their life. They lost their life because of this, because they went without their wife's permission to learn Torah for such a long time. And the Gemara brings an incident that happened. Very sad story. Rav Rechumi was sitting and learning by his Rebbe, by Rava. He left his wife without permission for a very long time. In Mechuza. He used to come home once a year on Erev Yom Kippur. So there was one day when it was Erev Yom Kippur, Meshachte Shmaita, he got involved in his learning, and Av Mesachye de Bisu, and his wife was sitting and waiting for him, and she thought, Hashta Asi. Every minute she was thinking, he must be coming right now, because he always would arrive at that time. Lo Yasa, but he didn't arrive home. He got involved in his learning. Cholash Daita, so she felt very bad, and Ochis Dimasa Meina, and a tear came out of her eyes. So this Rav Rechumi was sitting on a place on a second floor on a rooftop, and he was learning there. Ifches igre mitusei, the floor below him that he was sitting collapsed. It broke open, and he fell down. V'noch nafshe, and he passed away. This is what happened because he didn't come home to his wife in the appropriate time when she was waiting for him. Now the Gemara asks, when they get to this whole halacha b'chlal, which was not yet addressed before, Oina shel talmidei chachamim emes, the times of a talmid chacham to be with his wife, how often is it? That wasn't explained in the Mishnah. So Amar Rav Yudah Mashmuel me erev Shabbos le erev Shabbos, once a week from erev Shabbos to erev Shabbos, and the source of this is from the first capital in Tehillim. It begins over there saying, "B'sayres Hashem cheftzai," a person should learn Torah. Then it says, "Ashapiriya yitein beitay," that the time period a person gives the fruits. In other words, a person has children. There's a time period for this. And Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Yehuda, that is, V'tayim Rav Huna, V'tayim Rav Nachman, Zeh Amishamish Mitase me'erev Shabbos le'erev Shabbos. This refers to the times of a Talmid Chacham, which is from erev Shabbos to erev Shabbos. And the Gemara brings a story about this. Yehuda berei Rav Chia. Yehuda was the son of Rav Chia, Chasane de Rav Yanai, the son-in-law of Rav Yanai. He would go and learn by his teacher in the Beis Medrash. All week he was there learning Torah. And then Shimshi, every Friday night, he would come back home. And as we'll see in the story, apparently he lived by his father-in-law, Rav Yanai. And when he came home, Rav Yanai saw coming ahead of him this pillar of fire. I guess from his learning Torah, that there was a pillar of fire that came home with him. One day it happened. It was an Erev Shabbos, Friday night, and Meshachte Shmaita. He got involved in his learning, and he didn't come home. Kivin de lechaza husimana. So Rabbi Yanai, his father-in-law, was waiting to see the pillar of fire coming, and he did not see it coming. Amalu Rabbi Yanai. So Rabbi Yanai said to the people in his home, "Kafu mitasa, you can turn over his bed, because he's not going to come home. Shelmala Yehuda Kayam, if my son-in-law Yehuda was alive, he would not nullify this time period he has, that he would come home every Friday night for his wife. But he's not coming, that means he's not alive. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yanai spoke this way. It's like a mistake from such a great person to express himself in this way, and that's what actually happened. And his son-in-law Yehuda passed away. So again, this all shows you how a person should be careful when he sets a time for his wife to be home. Make sure to be home in time. The Gemara brings another story. Rebbe Yasek Le Lebrei. Rebbe was his son got engaged. He was taking care of matters of the marriage of his son Bei Rab Chia to the daughter of Rab Chia. So when Rebbe arrived to Rab Chia's home to write the agreement of the Kesubos for the son for the marriage, what happened? Nach nafshe de revisa. The Kala passes away. The girl, the Kala, passes away. Amar Rebbe, so Rebbe says about this, what happened? He was trying to figure out, why did the Kala pass away? Chas v'shalom psula ikke? Is there some kind of a psul in your family, and therefore it wasn't appropriate that my son should marry this Kala? Yisivu v'ayinu b'mishpachas, they sat down and they analyzed, they looked at the lineage of the families, and they saw that Rebbe Asa Mishvatya ben Avital, Rebbe was a descendant from Shvatya ben Avital, which comes from David HaMelech, and Rab Chia Asi Mishimi Achi David. And Rab Chia comes from Shimi, which was only a brother of David. So basically what the Gemara is saying is, Rebbe himself comes from David HaMelech. Rab Chia only comes from a brother of David. So it wasn't the right thing for someone that comes from a lineage of a king himself to marry a girl that comes from only the brother of David HaMelech. Very unique, very unusual. I mean, because of this, she deserved to pass away. I'm not exactly sure what the pshat over here is. But that's what the Gemara says. So after this, what happened? So now you went to marry your son to the daughter of Rabbi Yossi ben Zimra. So what happened? They made an agreement that the son is going to go and learn Torah for 12 years. To go learn Torah. In other words, he was engaged, he was going to get married, but he's first going to go learn Torah for 12 years, then he's going to come back home to be married to his wife. But what happened? They brought the Kala in front of the Chassan, the son of Rebbe. So now the Chassan says, let it just be 6 years. I'll be back in 6 years for her. And then again, they brought the Kala in front of the Chassan one more time. So now the Chassan says, let me marry first. And then, right after we get married, after the Sheva Brachas, Vahada Ezel, and then I'll go and learn Torah for all the time I wanted to go. But he was sort of embarrassed from his father to tell his father that he had a change of plans, a change of heart. He was going to go learn Torah and then get married. But now, because they showed him the Kala, changed his mind that he's going to first marry her and then go learn Torah. Amalei, so the father said, Rebbe said, Bini, my son, das kainech yeshbach. Your opinion that what you want to do is similar to what the Eibishter wanted to do as well. By the Eibishter also, Kaviyachal, the Eibishter changed his mind. Because Meikadik said, what does the Pasuk first say in the end of the Shira? Tiviyemai, I will bring the Yidden into Eretz Yisrael, and then Visita Eimai, and then I will plant them there, meaning that only after the Yidden come to Eretz Yisrael, the Pasuk there continues, Bahar nachlascha machal shiftacha, only after the Yidden come to Eretz Yisrael, then we'll build the Beis HaMikdash. Meaning we're going to delay the building of the Beis HaMikdash all this time until the Yidden come to Eretz Yisrael. Well, the B'Saif, what happens afterwards? Ksiv, the Pasuk says, V'asir l'mikdash v'shachanti b'Seicha. The Eibusha commands Yidden to build a Mishkan even when they're still in the desert. Kaviyachal, the Mishkan, or the Beis HaMikdash, is the mashal for the marriage between the Eibishter and the Yidden. So the Eibishter as well, in the beginning he said, let me give them the Torah, and let's wait until we arrive to Eretz Yisrael. Only then will we build the Beis HaMikdash. But then the Eibishter said, no, we're going to build a Mishkan even while we're here in the Midbar. So it's the same thing also with you. You want to get married first, and then leave to learn Torah. Now what happened? Azul, he went after he married her. He immediately left and he went. Yosef Tarti Sari Shni V'Veirav. He remained for 12 years to learn Torah by his teacher. Adosa, by the time he got back home, he akra the biso. His wife became a akara. She became a barren woman. She couldn't have any children, and this actually happened as a result of him leaving for such a long time. She had such a desire waiting for her husband that she couldn't have children anymore. Oh, my Rebbe, so now the father-in-law Rebbe says, hey, Chinavet, so what should we now do? Nigrisha, should I tell my son that he should divorce her to marry someone else to have children? So Yaimru, everyone's going to say, look how sad the story is. Ani Yezu L'Shav Shimra, this poor woman for nothing waited for her husband, and then she became a barren woman, and now he leaves her. Should I tell my son that remain married to her, but you'll marry a second wife to have children? So Yaimri, people are going to say, Zu Ishtoi, he has now a second wife, that's his real wife. Zu Zainosa, and this other wife is just like a Zaina. He can't have children with her, so it's not a proper behavior. So what happened? Vayel Rachmi, Rebbe davened for her, V'itzias, and she got healed. And he was able to have children with her. Another story the Gemara brings, similar, also a nest that happened, Rab Chananya ben Chachinoi. Havakazel lebeirav, he was on his way going to learn Torah. And this was B'Shili Hilule de Rab Shimon ben Yochai. This was at the end of the Chasana of Rab Shimon ben Yochai. In other words, it probably means at the end, towards the end of the Sheva Brachas of Rab Shimon ben Yochai. Amalei Rab Shimon ben Yochai tells him, Yaakivli, wait for me, Adasi ba'adoch. I want to go along with you to learn Torah. Lo Yaakivle, he did not wait for Rab Shimon ben Yochai. Azal, Rab Chanina b'Chachinoi went to learn Torah. Today, Sari Shni, also for 12 years. Bebeirav, by his teacher. Adasi, by the time he came back home to his city, Ishtana Shvila de Masa, the pathways, the roads in the city were changed. They built houses, there was different setup in the city. Yeah, he didn't know the directions, how to get to his home. So what did he do? Also, Yosef Aguda Dinar, he went and sat at the riverbank. Shama, over there, sitting there, he heard Lahuda Visa, this girl, the Havakadila, people were referring to her and calling her and saying, Bas Chachinoi, Bas Chachinoi. Daughter of Chachinoi, daughter of Chachinoi. Malik Kulsech, fill up your jug with water, Visa Nazel, and come. So he understood that this is his daughter. This is his very own daughter that's here at the water. He didn't recognize her. Omar, he said, Shmami Noin, so now I know, Hayre Visa Didan, this is my daughter. Azal Basra, he went and followed her. Havi Yisiva the Bisu that is. So then he followed her to his home, and Rab Chanina ben Chachinoi's wife was sitting right there outside of the home. Kanala Kimcha, she was preparing the flour. Dalena, his wife picked up her eyes. Chazise, as she sees her husband standing right in front of her. Savi Liba Parach Rucha. So she had a heart attack and her neshama flew out. She passed away right there from the shock of seeing her husband in front of her eyes. Amalafana, so Reb Chanina Mechachino, he says, Rebbeinu Shalayla, Master of the universe, Ani Yezu, this poor woman, Zes Chara, this is her reward for allowing me to learn Torah all this time. Bayirachma Allah, he davened for her, V'chaya, and she had Chiyas HaMeisim, he revived her. Another story like this, Rab Chama Bar Bisa knew of this incident, so he learned from this. So Azil, he also went, Yosef Trei Sari Shni B'vei Medrasha, he went to learn Torah for 12 years in Bismedrish. Kiyasa, when he came back home, Omar, he said to himself, Lo Yavid Kedavid Ben Chachinoi. I'm not going to do the same like Ben Chachinoi did, that he came and shocked his wife. So what did he do? Ayi Yosef Medrasha. So he went to the Bismedrish in the city. So he was going to make a plan how he's going to come home in a gradual way, not to shock his wife. Shalach lebeise. He sent to his home the message that I'm here in the city. Also, Rab Aishia Berei. So the mother sent their son, Rab Aishia, their son. She sent him to the shul to go and see the father. Rab Aishia walks into the shul. Not the father recognizes the son. Not the son recognizes the father. Yosef Kamei. So Rab Aishia is sitting there in front of Rab Chama Bar Bisa, that is. Have a kamashal shmaite. And he's asking him questions in Torah, in the sugya that he's learning. He was impressed. He sees who this individual that's asking me questions, very sharp. He knows how to learn very well, and he didn't even know that it's his very own son. So Rab Chama Bar Bisa felt very bad. Omar, he said to himself, if I would have remained home over here for all these 12 years with my wife and my children, I would have had a child like this. I would have been able to teach him Torah like this. So Al Beise, finally he went home, came to his house. What happened? Al Brei, his son Rab Aishia, also came into the home. It was his son, but he didn't recognize him. So come in. So Rab Chama Bar Bisa, that is, got up for this individual that he thought was not his son. He got up for him and he thought he came to ask him a question. He thought he was coming to ask him a question. So Rab Chama Bar Bisa's wife tells him, why are you getting up for this person here? Is there a father that gets up for a son? So she told him what happened here, that this is your son. Rami Bar Chama said about this situation, the father and the son, they're both great Talmidei Chachamim. When you have a knot that's tied with a triple knot, or you have a string that's 3 strings tied together, this will not snap very quickly. Who is this? Rab Aishia b'noi Rab Chama Bar Bisa. This refers to Rab Aishia, the son of Rab Chama Bar Bisa, the grandfather. Rab Bisa himself was a great Talmid Chacham. Rab Chama was a great Talmid Chacham. The grandson, Rab Aishia, was a great Talmid Chacham. So you have 3 generations, and therefore this will not leave their family so quickly. This Kayach of Torah will remain with them. Okay. After this, we have the famous story of Rabbi Akiva with his wife that we'll learn Mitzvah tomorrow.
Ooh, wow.